Good evening. Okay, so I have been asked to sell this amplifier for the guy that owns it. And the reason being is when it showed up here, it had a couple burnt pills in it. And the guy's not into it for very much money. And he says, just keep on to it, do whatever you're going to, I don't want to repair it. I said, how about we do this? I'll fix it, we sell it, and that way everybody gets their money out of it. And he goes, deal. So, all right. So I went to take it apart because that transistor were popped, and so was a protection diode. Now the reason he originally sent this up here was because he'd key it and the relay was going wouldn't stay latched up. RF was backing up and it make the relay chatter. So I go to pull the this transistor out, and I start looking down in here, and the transistor screws were all hogged out. Focus, you fuck. All right, there it is. The screws that hold down the transistors are all hogged out. I was like, this thing's been apart before. And you can tell by the way the copper strap is that it's been soldered on a couple times. You gotta remember, this is actual phenolic. It's dual-sided phenolic. This is an actual copper. It's like 20 trillionths thick micron paper that they've got over this with a piece of phenolic in between. So I go and I start pulling the screws out. And wouldn't you know, the technician that had been in here before had broke the screws off. And they decided that their solution to the problem was that they were going to super glue them on top of the transistor. So it looked right, but it wasn't right. So tech tip of the day for any up-and-coming wannabe amp builder repair guy is that pill screws are soft. They're made of very, very soft metal. So when they snap off like this, it's really simple how to fix it. You get yourself a really good drill bit. I like Milwaukee. They're really tight and hard. The metal's really hard on them. Not China freight drill bits, real drill bits. Spend some money on some American-made kind of cobalt hard metal material, and you're going to get yourself a heavy-duty punch. It's got a fairly aggressive tip on it, and you're going to go directly in the middle of that screw, and you're going to put a nice punch mark in the middle of that screw, so your drill bit doesn't walk. Because when these break off, they don't ever break off clean and smooth and flat. They've always got a slant to them. So you put a nice heavy punch mark in that thing. And then very carefully with a drill press, you peck drill the screw out through the heatsink. Believe me this, if you really got a good drill press and you can drill that out right down the middle of that screw, a self-tapping screw like this one here, it's a brand new pill screw, transistor screw. It's got these little hash marks. Focus. Don't focus on the amp, focus on my hand. Come on. Got little tiny teeth in there and little burrs. It'll retap itself. You got to do it right down the center, otherwise it won't line up with the screws for the transistor. So anyhow, that's what we did. We peck drilled that out, and then we went in there and we put a new transistor in. So I took the two used transistors, that one and that one, and I put them together there in this bank. And then there's two brand new 2879 Toshibas in here. So it's one Motorola MRF 455 pushing four 2879 Toshibas. So we get that all working, and I go to key it, and I can't get it to do more than about 100 watts. So then I start to go and testing caps. This 530 puff cap was bad, so we replaced it. Got a little bit more of our wattage back. Well, down underneath the positive and negative leads, there's a 150 puff capacitor. Right there. It's part of the output tune process, okay? That cap works in conjunction with this induction coil, and then this final cap at 100 puff. Well, this 180 puff cap reads like a 73. It says garbage, freaking junk. We changed that out, the box came right back to life. So the only other thing I did is, so you didn't have to run around with a sideband switch on all the time, I modified this so you can run it with a 1 watt carrier. Had a just tiny little cap here. Other than that, this amp is completely bone stock. It's just the way it was when it come from Messenger. Now, this thing's in really good shape. None of the traces have ever been burned. Usually the input traces or one of the boards on the relay, one of the traces on the relay boards always gets burned. The high, medium, and low is still in perfect working order. None of those traces have been burned, and it's still got all the stock resistors up front for high, medium, and low. Now this box works perfectly. We're going to play with it on 14 volts today. We're going to use a 1000 watt slug-in PEP, 1000 watt slug-in average, 5 watt slug-in reverse, and we're going to use the RCI 2950 because this is a low drive amp. Now, most people think 1x4 equals 1000 watts. 1x4 equals 1000. The way Messenger has this set up is so that it does 500 watts. And if you drive it a little bit hard, you'll get 600 out of it. And that's all it's ever going to do. Can we make it do more? Yes. Can the heatsink handle it? No. Can I turn this into a 1000 watt box? Sure. It's pretty simple. We change this, add a capacitor here, change that output, change this coil, change the number of turns in the output transformer, take this and take it from a, 5 to 1 to a 7 to 1. And wham, we got ourselves a 1000 watt box. Problem is there's not enough heat sink underneath this thing to cool it adequately. It's static cool, otherwise there's no fan. Now if we were to add a fan to the bottom of that thing, then it can handle it. But the whole point behind this is it's stock, and it's in really good working order with Toshiba's in it, which makes it one of the last generations that they made. So all that being said, everything's off, and by the way, everything works: preamp, on, off, and sideband delay, low, medium, high, fully functional. We're going to go through all those modes. So everything's off, and I'm going to show you how hard we're hitting it. Hello, audio. So we're swinging about 30 watts into this thing. That's it. We kick the amp on. We're dead keying 1 watt. 1 watt gets us a 200 watt carrier. Except when you have the mic right down on the amp, like I was doing. 1 watt gets us about a 10 watt carrier. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Swinging to about 4 and some change, about 420 on low. We're going to go to medium. And now we're up to a 30 watt carrier. Hello, audio. So now we're seeing 500 peak and about 200 bird. Now we're going to go to high. Quit squealing, Mike. Now we're seeing about 170 watt carrier. Hello. 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 About 215, 210 bird and 600 watts PEP. It's doing exactly as it was designed to do. The heatsink isn't full of a ton of holes. And the cabinet's not full of a ton of holes. It's got a little scuff action here on the lid, and that's about it. Other than that, it's completely stock the way it comes from Messenger. It's got the stock fuse on it, and it's got the stock ground wire, all the stock fittings. Anyhow, I'm going to put this up for sale. We're asking, I believe, $500 or best offer. First person with cash in their hand gets it. My name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Of course, the YouTube channel, if you haven't discovered it by now, and that's what you're watching me on, it's called Mr. BBI Amplifiers. Or something like that, right? Mr. BBI Box Builder Amplifiers, that's it. Click subscribe. It's the button down here. Right down there. So subscribe. Click it. See you guys. Just having fun, making more guys 10-8 and straight. I'll see you. Bye.